I'm 76 years old. I just threw my entire life's work into the trash. For 60 years, I was a pastor, a scholar. I had all the right answers. Today, I have none. I'm sitting in my empty study, and I am more terrified of this silence than I ever was of hell. Let me tell you what happened. It started when I was 16, just a farm kid with a good memory. I could quote the whole Bible. The church elders, men like old Deacon Miller, they put me up on the pulpit one hot Sunday. I saw my dad cry. My mom's worn-out hands were folded tight. Their pride felt like love. I thought the applause was God's voice. I was wrong. I became a perfect speaker. My faith was a suit I wore for everyone else. That suit fit for decades. Then I met Eleanor at seminary. She studied plants. She said my sermons were beautiful, but asked if I ever just felt the grass. We got married. She was my anchor. After every big sermon, she'd ask, "And how was your heart today, David?" I'd give some smart theological answer. She'd just smile, a little sad. She lived her faith quietly. She helped neighbors. She had a garden she called her chapel. I preached about creation. She had dirt under her nails. I was the show. She was the real thing. The cracks showed up slowly. Our son Michael was 7. He asked why I called God Father when his friend had 2 moms. I gave him the official church answer. He just said, "Oh." His eyes went blank. My performance didn't work on him. Years later, a woman cried after an Easter sermon. She thanked me for making it all so logical. Eleanor took my hand that night. She said, "David," she needed comfort, not a proof. A cold truth settled in me. I was a lecturer, not a shepherd. The cold froze everything when Michael got sick. He was 19, leukemia. I stood by his hospital bed, my Bible like a brick in my hand. He looked at me, so weak, and said, "Dad, don't preach, just be here." I had nothing. My words were dust. I watched Eleanor. She just held his hand, washed his face. Her silence was a prayer. When he died, the church expected a mighty eulogy. I stood up there and made it sound like a snap. I quoted Job. They saw deep faith. I knew it was my greatest performance, my last one. After that, I was a ghost. I did weddings, funerals, empty words. Eleanor told me one night, "I miss you." I said I was right there. She said, "No, you've been gone for years." She started walking alone, talking to the oak tree we planted for Michael. She was talking to God in a language I didn't know. The end came on a Tuesday. A young couple came for counseling. They were in love, scared. They asked about the theology of marriage. I gave my usual lecture. The groom stopped me, gently. He said, "Reverend, we know all that. We're just scared. How do we not hurt each other?" I stared. I had no answer. I quoted scripture. Their polite faces, it was a verdict. After they left, I sat for an hour. My study was a museum of a life I never lived. I called the elders and quit. The next morning, I took it all down. The robes, the stoves. I boxed 1,000 books. Eleanor helped without a word. I found my old journal. On the first page, from when I was 16, it said, "I want to know God." I'd never written another word in it. I put the boxes on the curb. The room was empty. I was just a man. No script. For the first time in 60 years, I had nothing to say to God. Then I remembered her garden. I went out. It was a mess, all weeds. I just started pulling. My knees hurt. Dirt got under my nails. I felt the sun, the ache in my back. I wasn't thinking. Then it hit me. All the grief for Michael, for Eleanor's loneliness, for my wasted years. I didn't pray. I just cried. Ugly, heaving sobs into the dirt. Nobody was watching. I looked up. Eleanor was at the door. She came over slowly, knelt in the dirt with me, and put her hand on my muddy one. We didn't speak. The afternoon faded. And in that quiet, something was there. Not a voice, a presence, solid as the ground. I'd spent my life talking at God. In the silence, I finally felt God. Now I don't perform. I sit in the garden with Eleanor. We're quiet. My prayers are one word now. Thanks, sorry, help. A former parishioner saw me at the store last week. He asked me about a Bible verse. I said, I don't know, but tell me what's hurting. He cried right there by the avocados. I just listened. That's my story. Maybe you're performing too. The perfect parent, the successful one, the good believer. The costume is so heavy. My advice? Stop. Be quiet. Let it fall apart. Get your hands dirty with your real life, the grief, the love, the questions. Don't speak. Listen. You might find something real in the wreckage. Not a distant king. A presence in the dirt beside you. That's where I found God. Now I'm going to make my wife a cup of tea. The tea was just an excuse, you see. I needed to move, to do something normal after saying all that. But as I stood in our kitchen, watching the kettle, Eleanor came in. She didn't ask about the recording. She just said, the garden needs more weeding by the fence. So I went back out. My knees complained, but I kept going. That's when I saw the old stone, half buried, Michael's rock. He'd painted a sun on it when he was 10. I'd forgotten. I dug it out with my hands. The paint was faded. I just held it. I didn't have a prayer. I just said his name out loud to the empty air. Michael. And for the first time since he died, it didn't feel like a line from a script. It felt like a call. And the silence that answered didn't feel empty. It felt full, like he was heard, even if I couldn't hear the reply. That small stone in my dirty hand was more real than every sermon I'd ever written. I took it inside and put it on the windowsill. Eleanor saw it. She nodded. Nothing else. That was our service that day. That stone on the windowsill stared at me for days. It was an accusation. I'd forgotten it. I'd forgotten so much. I started cleaning out the attic, a frantic, desperate search for more proof I'd been a real father, not just a preacher playing the part. I found a box of Michael's things, his Little League glove, a dried corsage from a dance, a notebook. I opened it. It was a journal from when he was about 15. My hands shook. I read one entry. It said, Dad gave another great sermon today. Everyone loved it. I wish he'd just asked me about my game. I dropped the book. It hurt. It physically hurt in my chest. I couldn't breathe. I took the box downstairs. Eleanor was in the living room. I just held out the notebook. I said, I didn't know. I didn't know. My voice was a whisper. She took it. She didn't read it. She just looked at me, and her eyes were so sad. She said, I tried to tell you. For years, David, I tried. And I realized that was the worst of it. She had, and I'd been too busy performing to hear my own wife. The cost wasn't just a lost faith. It was a lost son, a lonely wife, a life lived for an audience. I sat on the floor right there and cried. I said, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She sat beside me. She said, I know, but he knew you loved him in your way. That broke me because it was true. My love was real, but it was always filtered through the performance. It was always a sermon. I held that little glove and I finally understood what I'd lost. Not God, them. Holding that little glove, I finally understood what I'd lost. Not God, them. And that was the lesson, the one I needed to learn before I could find anything real. I was wrong about what faith was. I thought it was about knowing, about speaking, about being right. It's not. It's about showing up, naked, with nothing to offer but your own broken, quiet self. When Michael asked his question about two moms, I should have said, I don't know. What do you think? When that woman cried after the Easter sermon, I should have gotten down from the pulpit, sat beside her, and cried too. When my wife asked about my heart, I should have been brave enough to tell her it felt empty. Love doesn't need a script. It needs presence. My mistake was believing God wanted a performance. He just wanted me, the real, confused, failing me. And he was waiting in the silence I was so afraid of, in the dirt I thought was beneath me, in the eyes of my wife, who loved the man behind the mask, even when he was lost. So here's my advice, especially if you're my age. Stop performing today. Whatever role you're playing, the perfect grandparent, the retiree who has it all figured out, the believer who never wavers, let it go. The costume is suffocating you. Get quiet. It will be terrifying. The silence will feel like failure. Do it anyway. Look at the parts of your life you've been avoiding. The regret, the relationship that's grown cold, the grief you've neatly packaged away. Get your hands dirty with it, literally. Go pull weeds, fix something, bake bread. Do something with your body that has no spiritual pretense. And when the feelings come, and they will, don't reach for a platitude. Don't quote anything, just feel it. Let it be ugly. Let it be real. That raw, unfiltered reality is the first honest prayer you've maybe ever uttered. And listen, not for a voice, but for a presence. In the warmth of the sun after a good cry, in the weight of a memory, in the simple touch of someone's hand on yours when you have nothing smart left to say. That's the connection. That's the thing I called God. You still have time, maybe not decades, but you have now, this moment. And this moment is enough. It's more than enough. It's everything. Don't waste it polishing the mask. The world doesn't need another flawless performance. It needs your real, cracked, beautiful humanity. It needs you to put down the script and finally see the people who have been loving you all along, waiting for you to come home to yourself. That's where I found God. Not in the thunder, but in the quiet afterward. Not in the answer, but in the shared question. Not on a throne, but kneeling in a garden, holding my wife's hand. Finally, fully, there. If this story has meant something to you, if it's echoed some quiet fear or hope in your own life, then do a few simple things for me. First, subscribe to this channel. I'm not building a new church here, just a place for honest talk. Turning on notifications means you won't miss these conversations. And there are more stories like mine waiting to be heard. Stories of late-in-life awakenings that need to be shared. Leave a like if this resonated. It tells me the silence I'm speaking into isn't empty. But most importantly, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment. Tell me, in just a sentence or two, what's one performance you're tired of giving? Your words might be the very thing that gives someone else the courage to stop. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, a friend, a parent, a spouse who's been playing a part for too long, share this with them. Don't preach it, just send it quietly. Sometimes the most profound invitations are the gentlest.